I will say that there is no bad time to take your child to the doctor for a visit. Better safe than sorry, right? So most parents, they know their children pretty well. And of course, most kids, when they're just kind of have the sniffles and they're still running around and playing, they're not so overly concerned.
Cue music. Places, everybody places. We're starting in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. I've brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted.
Thank you for joining us here on the Autoimmune Hour with Sharon Zeigler. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio. Join the Autoimmune Hour's Courage Club. Sign up now at understandingautoimmune.com. Now, back to your host, Sharon Zeigler.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Zeigler from SharonZeigler.com, and as always, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you here on another brand new episode. My goodness, we're in, 410, somewhere around there, and still going strong. I love it. Just marching our way towards 500 episodes here, and I'm going a little tangential because I found a book that I absolutely love and I want to share it. Being a grandparent, I found it a fascinating book and I want to share it with everybody. So let me grab a little sip of my tea here. I don't know. I'm not sick. I just sound a little nasally today. So sorry about that. So I'm going to grab a little cup of my tea to drink my tea. Yep. Chai tea with oat milk today. And no, I didn't make the oat milk like I make my own almond milk. I know. But I like it. It tastes good. I like trying these different milks. I don't know about you guys, but anyway, yeah, that helped. Okay. So what are we going to talk about? Tonight, we're going to talk about this wonderful new book called But I'm Not Sick. And it's all about helping ease your children's fears at pediatric checkups. And I know it's not exactly autoimmune related. It's not, but it's health and wellness related. And I love the book and I wanted to get a hold of the author. Her name is Andrena Zeigler, and she's an advanced practice registered nurse. And she earned her doctorate in nursing practice degree as a first honor graduate from Medical University of South Carolina. And she's been practicing in pediatrics for over 20 years. So you guys, she knows what she's talking about, right? For those of you on video, I'm going to show you the book. It's a cute little book. It's wonderful. It's a nice size too for lap reading. It's a great size for lap reading. And it's all about when your kids feel uneasy about unfamiliar experiences. And I'll say like doctor visits. This little story is about a doctor visit, but I think it works if your kids feel uneasy about unfamiliar experiences anyplace. So it's a fantastic little book. It's all full of rhymes and really cheerful illustrations. Love it. So, Andrena, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love your book. Congratulations. I know that you actually have 2 books out right now, so that's fantastic. You also have a book called out I'm Bigger and Braver as well. I love that you're tackling these how-to books in a really fun way. I remember with my kids growing up, I would get this, why do I have to go to the doctor type of thing. So tell us a little bit about what prompted you to write the book.
I love reading, particularly children's books. But it was one particular day that my then 7-year-old niece said, Auntie, let's sit down and write a book. And I was like, really? Okay, well, come on, let's sit down. And she got bored and went on about her way, but I kept writing. And it turned into a nice little abstract, and I read it to my children, and they were like, Mom, you wrote this? I was like, yeah, I wrote it. So, they were, you should publish. I was like, nah, really? Yeah, you should publish. And so didn't do it initially, of course. Years down the line, revisited it again, particularly during the pandemic, and published.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's charming. It's cute. And being a children's book author myself, as I mentioned to you before the show. It's not that easy to write a kid's book. I am a nonfiction author myself, and I find nonfiction author was much easier than writing a kid's book. Coming up with the right rhymes. It's full of really charming little rhymes. And for those of you on video, I'll show you the really delightful illustrations too. So tell us a little bit about, I know this story is about, but I'm not sick, and how to get kids to relax when they go. What tips do you have for parents when they're saying, okay, I mean, my kids are quite a bit older, but I know with my grandkids, especially during the pandemic, they didn't really want to go anywhere. And so
True. True. Well, with these type visits, though, I find that sometimes we tend to coddle our kids a little bit too much, meaning we don't push just a little bit. It's okay to let your children know, yes, it's okay to be afraid. It's also okay to let them know that it's necessary for them to kind of go through these things. Explain the visit, explain what it is that they are about to encounter. And it usually is a little bit lessened prior to them even getting to the office. Yeah. I have quite a few parents who it's a surprise visit, or it's and the children are so afraid of what is about to happen. They're already kind of thinking ahead of time as to what something might feel like, or what this thing is about to happen to them. They're overthinking. So explaining it helps a lot.
Can the parent be overthinking it, though? I mean, sometimes I've heard parents say things and I'm like, I don't think I would go into quite that detail.
But now, yes, I have seen that. I want it to be age appropriate, no doubt. The explanation should be age appropriate, but just kind of explaining to them, step by step, these people are nice here, that they're not intending to harm you. This is to keep you well, and trying not to project their fears. Parents, their own fears onto the children. Because I'm sure parents remember, unpleasantries about being at a doctor's appointment, but trying not to project those fears as well to the children. Ensuring that, hey, this is your pediatrician. I trust them with your health.
It's interesting when you mention that. I reflect back on my childhood. I was more terrified of the dentist. And I think it was the office environment. My pediatrician had a wonderful big aquarium, and I'd never.
Oh, nice.
I ever saw an aquarium was at his office.
Very nice.
So I think I was more excited about seeing his fish, and then he was like the afterthought about it all.
I actually remember having a pleasant time with my pediatrician. Like, I can remember some of the little whimsical things that he would say to me as well as a child. And I think most pediatricians try to do just that. The things in my book are actually things that I say when I'm doing an exam with my children, my patients. And so I try to keep it fun and light and airy just that way, because it was a pleasant experience for me.
And as I was reading through the book, it's interesting you say that, because it was almost as if like, oh, I've heard my son's pediatrician say that. It was almost like a little script, but as I was reading it, like, oh, I remember something like that being said. Now, I'm curious, as in this case, the story's written about I'm not sick, so it's what I call the well-being or the well-child types of visits. Do you have any tips or suggestions when, I know right now, I'm reading a lot and I see it in my grandchildren. There's what they're calling the Tripledemic or something like that. RSV, flu, and the big C word. I want to get into that a little bit. Besides, when should we go to the doctor when we're curious if our kid, are they just sick isn't a fair word. But when should we take our kids with this RSV, the flu, and the COVID going around? When should we go to the doctor?
I will say that there is no bad time to take your child to the doctor for a visit. Better safe than sorry, right?
Right.
So most parents, they know their children pretty well. And of course, most kids, when they're just kind of have the sniffles and they're still running around and playing, they're not so overly concerned. Typically, when that fever hits, it raises the red flag. Like, this must be something more than just, say, allergies. And so during this time, of course, with the triple threat, as you alluded to, RSV, COVID, and flu, you kind of want to make sure what it is, if you can, identify exactly what it is that they have to prevent, of course, exposure and spread to others.
Yeah, bringing the whole family down with it. I'm curious, with the kids being out of school for a couple of years, does that weaken their immune system if they're not exposed a lot? Or, I mean, why now?
Ironically, yes. And so during that time when we were separated, isolated in our homes, practicing, of course, the 6 feet and beyond, wearing masks, we saw a tremendous drop, of course, in numbers of viruses that would normally be spreading among everyone. But at that time, there were probably limited symptoms. So now, having been away from that social contact, we are seeing more symptoms or increased or more severe symptoms from those viruses because of that. It's like your body has not been exposed enough, and so there's no antibodies there to fight it.
So it's sort of like the Army took a break.
Yes.
Yes. They were called back to active duty by surprise.
Yes. Good analogy.
Okay. So will our kids outgrow this the more that they're back into schools and daycare and things like that, and the more they're exposed? Will perhaps maybe next winter not be quite as severe as this winter's been, with every little person getting sick?
Yeah. Well, that is the hope. The hope is that, of course, the more you're exposed, the more we all are in the population, that we have those lesser symptoms involved with these viruses. We know that the viruses themselves are not going anywhere, but because there's no 100% guarantee of anything, we try to, of course, still encourage vaccination. That's probably our number one medical intervention right now for these things is vaccination. Of course, we know that what vaccines do is give us a small part of that virus so that our bodies then create those antibodies to fight.
When our child is, we're thinking it's a little bit more than the sniffles and that kinds of things, what are some things that we can do to make them feel comfortable?
So you want to manage, of course, fever. And fever is not always a bad thing. Fever, we know that helps our body to actually fight. We get concerned, of course, if fever spikes to a higher degree too quickly, or if it goes, of course, a little bit too high. We don't like 104, 105 fevers, but managing those well. So you have your acetaminophen products, which is, Tylenol. You have your ibuprofen products or Motrin, Advil, but then also making sure that you can keep their nutrition and hydration up to par as well as rest for the body to be able to have the energy to fight. Those are the things, of course, day to day that we should be monitoring so that your body is healthy enough to fight off any illness or fight an illness that you've acquired.
Well, I'm going to go tangential here because I'm thinking about one of my own children as they were growing up. They're adults now. And so you mentioned nutrition. You need to write a book, I think, on how to deal with a picky eater.
Now, that is so common. So I think I might have to take you up on that one. I'll have to sit down and think about something with that. But yeah, absolutely common. So I always tell parents, listen, you're in charge of what you offer the child to eat. They're in charge of course, how much of that thing they're going to eat. Compromise is not always a good thing when it comes to nutrition. Still present those healthy snacks, those healthy meals. When they're hungry, they will eat it. Too many times, of course, we will kind of backtrack and just give the chicken nugget, the macaroni and cheese, the thing that's easy enough for them to and palatable for them to eat, but it's not necessarily what is most nutritious for the body. So you give what you want them to have, the nutrition that you want them to have. They're in charge of how much of that thing that they're going to eat. And of course, there are supplements available, but those supplements are just that. They're supplements. You're not going to replace the meal with those things, right?
Well, I'm curious, any tips or tricks or techniques that you have? Because at home, I remember I was offering things like the vegetables and things like that were going uneaten for a long time. Yet in childcare situations, they were offering things that I didn't feel nutritious,
right,
or as nutritious
right.
as they could have been, shall I say?
Mm-hmm. Right. If you can provide that snack or meal for them to take along with them, if it's something different that you would like them to have in that childcare arena, if you can provide those things, that would probably be most ideal. Now I'm seeing, of course, with the changes that occurred with schools and daycares, they try to offer a little bit more healthier things. You know, we still have the whole epidemic of, you know, childhood obesity. And then, of course, like you were saying, the picky eater. So there's always something nutritious to tackle when it comes to these kids.
Yeah. Well, so what causes, do you know anything, like, do people say what causes a picky eater? I mean, they're all so different. I'm like, okay, one kid
They are so different. But I just actually saw a study that linked, this was interesting to me, so I'm going to share. But it linked how much vegetables the mom ate during pregnancy to how many vegetables the child will eat.
Wow. Now, how do you study that? But that's fascinating. But
right. And so I'm like, okay, I probably wasn't the best eater.
Yeah, that just guilted me too. I probably did eat a lot of broccoli during my pregnancy.
Right. So it starts much earlier in pregnancy.
Wow. That's fascinating. I would love to see how they did that study. But so if we've missed that boat,
right.
Is it okay to hide our veggies? Like, I read all these cookbooks, like,
yes,
you can like puree this or do whatever. Is it okay to hide our veggies?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. So even like during Thanksgiving, you know, when I made a little small dressing or so, you know, the celery and the onion, my kids didn't like to have that in their mouth. Like, it was a texture thing, I think. So I blended it. Yeah. Blended it and then added in. So yeah. So, and then of course you can make smoothies. There's all kinds of ways to hide things, vegetables in food. So absolutely. If you make it a little bit more palatable for them, of course, they're more apt to eat.
Absolutely. I'm reflecting back on, I had my pediatrician years ago. I was like, well, you just keep serving him the same thing, But after a while, you know, 4 or 5 days of this, you're like, oh, screw this.
Yeah.
I, as a parent, would give in.
And I will say, so that's the thing about parenting too. So it's a battle of the wills when it comes to the children and the parent, right?
And I have to wrap myself out that my kids want a fair amount.
So, and most times that's exactly what happens. We get fatigued, and the children have their way. Like, I'm tired.
I can only battle you eating broccoli for so long.
Absolutely.
I guess I'm not being fair to broccoli. I just think of one of my grandkids. They'll only eat the leaves of the tree on broccoli. They won't eat the trunk of the tree on the broccoli. That's what they call it. I'll only eat the leaves. Okay. So I want to cover this. So I think my tangential talking about me giving up too soon. This idea of feeding the kid the same thing over and over. I mean, some people just don't like stuff. I mean, even to this day, there are certain things I just don't like.
Yeah. So I will say this, offer it to them, of course, in a series of events, but I tell my patients even, give it at least 10 times before you say, I do not like this. Because what we find, of course, is that your palate has to adapt to a certain thing, especially if you're more inclined to say sweets or sour or salty. Like if you hit your taste buds are more inclined to a certain thing, when you try something different, immediately you're like, I don't like this. But give your palate a chance to adapt. And so I say, try it at least 10 times before you say, I do not like this.
That's a great thing, even for us adults. as I'm thinking about my own family, I had one child that loved pepper. Pepper, and to this day, pepper's everything. And the other child is like, doesn't even want to smell pepper.
Right.
It's fascinating.
Right.
Is that, I suppose it's a combination of both genetics and maybe just habit or it's something they picked up along the ways. Oh, wow. Fascinating. We need to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk some more all about kids. I just find the topic fascinating, especially this time of year where you probably had them in your home for at least a couple of weeks. And now you're like, oh, let's get back into daycare and things like that. We'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You could ask on your couch while you binge watch.
Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
Om Times Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Om Times, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star Reader's Favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com. And tonight we're here with Andrena Zeigler, and she is the author of But I'm Not Sick. And it's all a great book about help easing your children's fears about pediatric, and in this case, well visits, well checkups. But we're talking all about our kids and getting them comfortable in all these, what I call, I'm flashing back to myself, raising my kids and my grandkids, all these little questions I've had, like how much is too much or not enough and that kind of thing. But she's got this wonderful book for video. You can see the cover. It's a great book. So, Andrena, thank you for letting me go all tangential here. And I'm sort of flashing back on my own, wondering how much of it I've messed up my kids. So, yeah. Now, during the break, you had commented like on some of the common questions that you get in the office. I know you have done pediatric well care visits and pediatrics for over 20 years. What are some of the common things now that parents say, you know, Andrena, what about this?
Well, I get questions about pooping a lot in pediatrics. It's a strange topic, but since we're talking about nutrition, it kind of, goes hand in hand. But
that just brought back all sorts of memories. That is not a strange topic. That was a big topic when they were toddlers. Yes,
absolutely.
Please.
So from infancy to toddlers, that is a main topic. And we always are asked, like, should the child be pooping daily? So constipation does not mean that you're not pooping every single day. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. And so trying to kind of see what that infant or that child's pattern is first, kind of lets us know whether or not they are constipated. So my typical rule is going beyond 3 days. They go beyond 3 days,
wow.
Perhaps they may be. The second thing regarding that would be the consistency and amount of the poop. So if it's easy for them to pass, we're okay. If they're struggling to pass it, of course, they're sitting there for too long, if they're saying it hurts for them to pass it, then there's a problem. And then, of course, the amount. So they should actually defecate, moderate to large amount of poop. If it's small, they perhaps then could be constipated. So we get those questions quite often. And then my question always reverts back to what they're eating. Because, of course, what's going in affects what comes out. And so you need more of a high fiber diet and lots of water. I don't have too many problems with my children and, of course, infants as far as activity. They like to crawl around and move around and play, and then little kids love to play. So their activity level is okay when they're that small. But it's mostly water consumption and, lack of fiber in their diet.
How do you get kids to drink water? I'm thinking back on one of them used to say they just hated the taste of it. How do you get kids to drink enough water? And I guess, how do you know it's enough?
Well, and I will say it starts early. So we don't need to, first they start off with their formula and then they transition to whole milk. There's really no need to introduce juice into the mixture, which is more sweet, of course. Kind of
lots of sugar.
Yeah, gets their palate adjusted for something that's nice and sweet and cool. But I only encourage juice when it's necessary for like cases of constipation, because it does kind of help the sugar content in that helps to relieve the bowels. But aside from that, there's really no need for it. And so if you introduce water early, they're more likely to continue drinking water throughout.
How do you determine, I know as an adult, I'm thinking about all these things I've read about 8 glasses a day or a certain amount about how much you weigh. How much do you decide is enough water for a little person?
And it depends on their size for me. Like sometimes I'll say, give them half of their body weight in water. If it's a really small child, 2 to 3 glasses of water is fine, Or when I say glasses, 8-ounce glasses, that would be okay. That's plenty. We really have to consume, too much water, like loads and loads of gallons of water for it to be harmful for the body. So I don't think we have to worry about that. But of course, on the opposite end, most of my patients consume none. No water. It's milk, it's juice, but it's never much of water. And I'm like, okay, take out the juice and add the water, and let's see how that happens. And now we're so fortunate that we can flavor water now for children if they can't stand the taste, like you were saying, of water. So we have the option of flavoring, so that's nice as well.
Wow. So many things changed since I was a mom. Well, as we're talking about kids, and let's talk about slightly older kids and how they're adjusting. Have you ever seen it happen? I'm thinking of a particular friend of mine whose child was fine at the doctor's for quite a while. And I think it was about 5 years old. All of a sudden, they're not sure what happened, but then they just don't want to go back.
Well, I will say, so you have this generally for children, we see them once when they're born quite often. There's every 2 months, then it's every 3 months, then it's every 6, until the age of about 2 years old. So we see them quite often, for developmental checkups and getting their immunizations. And so by 2 years old, we kind of have stopped all of those frequent checks, and then it's yearly. But most kids, by the time that they're 2 years old, they're up to date on their shots. And if they're doing well, you don't see them. Parents don't bring them back in unless they're sick. And if they're coming in and they're sick, likely a procedure of some sort may be happening. And then they come in, of course, 4 or 5 years old, and they have to get shots again. They don't even remember the last shots that they got, which is around 18 months to 2 years old. And so they're already, like I said, just kind of anxious about what that's going to feel like. What is that? How to, and they start to overthink. And again, there's all those potential procedures that have happened in between. So it's not become necessarily a pleasant place. They remember, of course, all the procedures versus just not necessarily the encounters with the people who have tried to make them feel comfortable and things like that. So that's where we as pediatricians, and pediatric providers and the nursing staff, like all of this, that's our job, along with the parents, to kind of help to ease those fears as best as we can.
What are some common fears that you see with the kids? I was just curious, is there something as a parent that we prepare them for? Should we tell them they're going to get a shot before they go?
Please do.
Or do we let the pediatric person?
Please do. If you know that they are, yes, go ahead and let them know what it is that they're going to receive and why. This is to keep you healthy. We don't want you getting sick and, things like that. Versus it's really difficult to surprise you're getting a shot today.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'd like that at my age either. But it does seem like the way to cheat out.
Now, sometimes parents aren't sure, but I always tell them, if they're coming in for a well exam, tell them that potentially, yes, you're getting a shot. Because those are the times, of course, that we try to give it.
Now, this is probably unfair to ask, but is it okay to bribe your kid?
I won't say no.
but did you hear that long pause? But
it sets you up for always having to give a reward for something.
Oh, good point. Good point.
So that's the of course the bad part of, like, okay, if you do this, then I'll do this. Versus and I'm bigger and braver, it's kind of just about this. Dad is taking his son to get a shot. Of course, he's apprehensive, but the dad prepares him by telling him exactly all of the things that he's accomplished thus far in his little young life, right? That has made him so proud of himself. And so by the time he gets to the appointment and he receives the shot, he's excited. It wasn't so bad. And oh my goodness, and dad recognizes that he was excited that he was able to calm himself and go through the procedure like a big boy, bigger and braver.
Well, I like that. That's a nice idea. I can see myself doing my own self-talk of all the things that I have made it through.
Right. It's exactly right.
To get past that anxiety
and through anything, right? That's positive thinking. You implement those positive thoughts. Anytime there's a negative feeling, insert a positive thought, and you can get through pretty much anything.
Yeah. Although I was thinking of the time my sister would sometimes sabotage those positive thoughts. She's older.
I'm guilty. I'm a big sister.
This was a long time ago. I'm not ratting my sister out now. She's great. But I'm thinking growing up, the times like her comments, somehow she'd gotten through it, all of that, but she still wanted to make me sort of feel like
I gotcha.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, I'm just thinking of so many books and things like this you can write on. What are some other things that you constantly hear from parents about, or from the little people who you're like, whoa, there's another book?
Well, I'm potentially thinking about doing all of the little procedures. So we talked about those procedures that cause anxiety. So I'm potentially thinking of doing something regarding the procedures that are done, just to explain to them what they are used for and why they're, necessary. So I know that that's a thing. There probably these can be endless possibilities of books to kind of sit down and talk about. But I did want to stay in kind of the realm of fears and anxiety in the little ones, and not duplicate too much when it comes to the message that's being sent out for each book.
We need to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, I've just got a few more questions I'd love to know about childhood, and one of them that comes to mind is tackling childhood obesity. So we'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing a job
and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Saylor, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSaylor.com/radio gift.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. Oh, my goodness, we're having a great time here with Andrena Zeigler. She's doctorate of nursing and a pediatric nurse practitioner. And that's a wonderful thing because I'm thinking of all the things that she's telling us about kids. I know for, 2.5 years, a lot of us were locked inside with our kids, and a lot of things came up during that time as well. And not only for some of us who did, what are they calling the COVID-15? Some of us calling it the COVID-20 or whatever. But I think a lot of children ran into that as well. I wanted to talk in the short time we have left about how do we talk to kids about our wellness, our well-being, and weight, and I'm going to put in air quotes, without making weight kind of an anxiety issue about it.
That's a very good question, and I love that one because that puts me in the mind of a few patients that I actually have, and it never feels good for somebody to tell you that you're overweight.
Even if you know it.
Even if
as an adult, even if
Yes.
I mean, my pants are a little tighter than they were pre-pandemic. I know it.
Right.
And yet I don't want anybody telling me I am.
Yes, that's exactly right. Even if you know it. So even as adults, we feel that way. So imagine how your children feel. So I have to stress that to my parents as well. Please be mindful of the words that you're choosing. And it really doesn't have to be a discussion per se. And I say that to say this: we are the captains of the ship being our home as parents. And so what groceries we buy, we're in control of it. What food is prepared, we're in control over it. Even when we select activities per se, we sit down and find out the interest of the child, but it's us who have to take them for their, practices and their outings. And it's okay for us to also get involved in the playtime with those children. And so we're the captains, so we steer the ship. It doesn't even have to be a discussion. And it should be a lifestyle change. And it's not, we don't want to, even if you have like one child who's overweight and another child who is not, you don't isolate the one child. It still becomes, we're all getting healthy. We all live a healthy lifestyle. So you don't allow the normal weight child to eat whatever they want to and then punish the overweight child by saying you can't have it.
Oh, yeah, that feels bad.
Yes, it's beneficial even for the normal weight child to eat a healthy diet. Metabolism is just maybe genetics, metabolism is a little bit different in each child. But of course, we want to still be cardiovascularly fit, right? So we still give the body what it needs, whether we are normal weight or not.
And it's an ideal time in my mind, being the first of the new year, to, okay, as a family, this is,
yes,
we're changing the course of our ship.
Yes, exactly.
About what age do you see that kids can really comprehend the idea of nutrition? I'm seeing my little grandkids, they'll parrot back what's the vegetables are good or something, but they don't really, I think, comprehend the idea of nutrition. About what age do you think that kids can comprehend the idea of the importance of being very careful what we put in our bodies?
Every child is going to be different. So, and I honestly don't think that a lot of adults understand the importance of
good point.
What nutrition is going into the body and what it's doing to fuel the cells and all of that, so the language of what we choose to use with our children makes all the difference. I have a 5-year-old niece who will look at your plate and say, you shouldn't eat that.
Wow. A nutrition expert already.
Yeah. Well, my sister's a physical she's a trainer, physical trainer. So she's very health conscious.
Oh yeah, she'd be attuned to it, I guess. Absolutely.
And so because she's so health conscious, and not in a negative way at all, but the kids have learned. They've watched her health journey and the things that she has changed and probably have questioned why. And so she explains the why, and it became their now lifestyle. So if I have something bad on my plate, she could look at it and say, you shouldn't eat that, Auntie.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, thank you. Yeah, I know. So kids can actually understand a lot more than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Especially if in her case, they saw her physical transformation and actually know what it is that she's done to make that happen. So she explained the why, and then they see the results, and then it's, oh, okay. So they are smarter than we give them credit for.
Oh yeah, they definitely are. One final question I'm curious about. I've seen it before. I never did it with my kids, but I've seen it before. And I know we never use food as a reward, but this idea of gold stars and other kinds of reward systems, is that beneficial for kids?
Oh, absolutely. Positive reinforcement. And like you said, it doesn't have to necessarily be food, but you can find out what their interests are. Or it can be, we can stay in the health realm and maybe they want to go someplace and do an activity. And so let that be the reward. And you can still kind of, stay within the whole fitness goal-centered approach for your family. So definitely positive reinforcement. It absolutely works. We as humans, it's kind of innate. You want to be rewarded. You want to be acknowledged and, pat on the back for doing a good job. And so we try to feed, of course, into that with the children because it pushes those goals that we have set for them as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're just about out of time. I wanted to show the cover of your book one more time. And it's Andrena Zeigler, Dr. Andrena Zeigler, and it's But I'm Not Sick. And I love it. And any final thoughts you want to share with our audience?
I just want to thank you once again for having me on. And then in reference to the book, of course, this is my first children's book, but of course, I am thrilled, excited that it is getting, of course, the recognition that it is. So
it got a Moonbeam Children's Book Award, which is fantastic.
It did. So in the health issues category, no doubt. So again, excited about it. And so please go out there and purchase. It is on multiple online platforms, but Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million are one or three of those platforms that is on. So I would appreciate it if you guys would go out and take a look.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fabulous book. And I love the illustrations. So please give a big bravo, kudos to your illustrator. They're just charming.
I certainly will.
And as I said, being a children's book author myself, I know how hard it is to write good rhyme and in words that young people understand. And this book is just a delight. So everyone, and it's a very simple to read book, which I love. It's the kind of book with great pictures. My little grandson we've read it a couple of times, and my little grandson doesn't really read yet, but he's like telling me the story because based on the picture,
I love that.
And so I think that's the sign of a good kids book is when the kids they've heard the book a couple of times and then they tell you the story of the book, even if it's not exactly the right words. So everyone, like I said, that's Dr. Andrena Zeigler, and this is her life. She works with children day in and day out for a couple of decades now. So thank you and congratulations on the award, the Moonbeam Book Award. Yeah, that's fantastic. And we'll have that link to it up on Understanding Autoimmune, so you can all go take a look. Everyone, have a great day. Whatever your adventures, join us next week for another brand new episode. Enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes.
For the next few minutes, we will be providing a guided meditation. In guided meditation, your focus is paramount. If you are driving or operating mechanical devices, please choose a nice, safe location. As we say here, drive when you drive and meditate when you meditate. Enjoy. Take a moment right now to find a comfortable spot. Check through every nook and cranny to make sure that your body is relaxed here in your spot. Shake it out. Wiggle your toes and your fingers to make sure you're completely relaxed. That's right. Take some nice deep breaths and let them out with a sigh. Extending the exhale to completely relax. And from this relaxed place, go to your favorite spot. You know the place, your favorite place. Take a moment and just savor this place. Noticing the colors, the smells. Taking a look around, behind you, side to side, above you and below you. Noticing the textures and patterns, they're all here for you. Your favorite spot. Safe and secure to relax even deeper. And enjoy this moment of simplicity. That's right. Taking a nice deep breath, and on the exhale, let all the thoughts expel from you as well. That's right. Nice, gentle simplicity. Begin to notice how every cell is letting go. That's right. Any little quick passing thought, just let it go and savor the simplicity of quiet. Of only hearing your breath. That's right. Thanking any little thought that wanders in and letting it go. For now is the time for simplicity, for ease and comfort. Enjoying the inhale and extended exhales. Of this place of quiet and solitude and simplicity. That's right. Taking a couple more inhales and exhales. Enjoying the moment right now. That's right. Knowing that you can come back to this place of quiet, solitude, and simplicity at any time, anywhere. You know how to come back here now. Enjoying the last moments here now. Thank your body, mind, and soul in this spot for allowing you to savor the simplicity, the quiet, the solitude, and knowing that you can come back whenever you want. Beginning to come back to the present moment now. Taking a nice deep breath. Begin to move in your body again, and you'll know the time when you're ready to open your eyes and come back to this moment now, here in the present. Eyes wide open, alert, and ready to start the day. Welcome back. Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star Reader's Favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Zeigler, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonZeigler.com/radio gift.